Have you ever walked away from a conversation with your spouse thinking, were we even in the same room? The same event happened, but we came away with completely different interpretations. I know that's happened to us. Stay with us while we have a conversation about what it looks like to experience the same thing, but through very different lenses.
What started as a question, God, you created marriage, can you make it work? Soon became a statement. God, you created marriage, you can make it work. Thank you for joining us on the Christian Family Life Podcast, where we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly in our marriage relationships and mine God's word to see what it has to say about it.
Welcome to another episode of Christian Family Life. Gio here, along with my bride of almost 32 years. It's coming up.
Almost. We're close.
Getting close in July. Roland and Tammy are not with us as Roland is out of the country right now, and they'll be back with us on the next one that we do, which will be in August. So, but as we close out this time with you guys and go into the summer, we want to touch on a topic that we feel is important, a topic that we've struggled with. We've had people come over and sit on our couches and have these conversations and the things that in the past I didn't like to do. And that's the whole repeat after the person has said something. Like, so what you're saying is, I just always thought that was kind of foolish until we kept running into this over and over and over again, and being in the same room, seeing the same thing, and then interpreting it from different perspectives. And a lot of things can come from that. It can come from your family of origin and how you grew up. It could come from the way that you see life and the way that you interpret things, and so many different things which is why it's important that we keep learning each other and how we function and how we process things. And some people are quicker processors than others, but sometimes the quicker processor misses key elements where the longer processor may pick it up, and then it just turns into this clash between the husband and wife.
Yes. So to take all of the things that you just said and put it in a nice little nutshell about what we're going to talk about today, because it's going to be all of those things.
Yeah.
It's like two people can experience the same event, hear the same words, witness the exact same circumstances, but assign completely different meanings to what happened. And it all has to do with how we're made up and all the things that you listed. So let's talk about it. Do we experience this? Yes.
Almost daily.
25 years ago? Yes. Yesterday? Yes.
Yeah. And so I think the first thing we need to come to a place of understanding is that whatever is happening, whether it's the kids, whether it's your finances, whether it's, name it, all the things that that Satan can really use to bombard and cause a wedge in your spouse, that whatever it is that's happening, we're not merely just observers of it. Neutral, we're not neutral. No. We're actually coming up with some kind of a perspective of what we think is happening in that moment.
Yeah. And
you're coming up with yours, and I'm coming up with mine. And very rarely do we think the same on a lot of things. Now, we have some things that those are the easy ones. Yeah.
We don't observe them. We interpret them.
That's right.
And you use that word a few times in your welcome, that processing. So what are you using when you process? Let's just throw out a massively generic example, okay? Let's say one spouse comes home from work and they're just quiet. They're just quiet. Spouse number 2 immediately observes, but not neutrally, observes and then begins to assign meaning. What's wrong? Usually that's our first question, right? What's wrong? Or what did I do?
Yeah.
What happened? And so we begin to assign meaning to that while Spouse number one that came home quiet is simply thinking and processing, wow, that was a long day. I just need a little bit of time before I, converge over. And so same event, exact same circumstances, but two completely different lenses through which they see. And we're going to give you some tips today on how to work through that and how to broaden your horizons, I guess, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I think that sometimes we see the facts in our mind, that this is the facts. This is how I interpreted the facts. Mm-hmm. And the other person is saying the same thing. Well, these are the facts. This is how I interpreted the facts. And so therefore there's the conflict. And we will, I don't know if I want to give away yet some of the tips, but one of them, I will give this one away, is extending grace to each other in the process of your interpretations. Right?
Grace. There's a saying that says grace covers a multitude of sins. That could not be truer, I don't think. And then specifically relationships, and then even more narrow in the marriage relationship. 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly." Can we just acknowledge that even though we may feel like we have all the facts and we know the facts and we know the intent behind the facts, that we don't?
Yeah.
We just don't, right?
It's kind of like some of those like Law and Order.
Easy on my Law and Order.
It shows that you love. But I've been watching some with you, and there are moments in the show that you're like, that's the person, that's the murderer, based on everything we have seen and interpreted and saw. That there's no doubt, and then there's a little bit of a twist, and we're finding, what? How could it not be? That's kind of the way. Now, as we interpret, so we're not just observers, we're also interpreting.
Yeah.
The observation of what we're seeing. And as I said in the welcome there, a lot of that, the way we decipher that information comes from perhaps how we grew up deciphering information, or how we saw family deciphering
information,
or how we were affected by the way people deciphered information.
Yeah.
And so therefore we take that on, and that's all we saw. So that's how we do it.
I would say in this point, when we move from observation to interpretation, it's key to know that there are probably so many things that have shaped and are affecting your interpretation that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was just yesterday for me. I just started kind of just thinking back into my history and different periods of life. And I just began to see how certain things shaped who I am today. So I'm 54. Things that happened when I was 8 and when I was 10 are still very vivid in my mind. Yeah. And so there's voices that run through there, and there's emotions that are attached to that. Yeah. And everybody has them.
Everybody.
There is no neutral participant.
Right.
It's your family of background, it's your past experiences, your previous hurts, expectations maybe that were not met, personality differences. I just think it's hilarious that you and I dated for 3+ years, and I just thought, man, we're so similar. We're so similar. Same likes and dislikes. We enjoy the same, all those things. And then we got married, and it was like, who is this man? I didn't see this. Like you like to say, this didn't come out in the interview process. And it's like, those things begin to emerge. And I wouldn't have even said when we were dating that we suppressed those or tried to hide them. Mm-mm. It's just, we've learned.
Life experiences bring different things out.
Well, we've learned by this point, Satan's not really going to attack the dating relationship.
Yeah.
He is going to attack marriage.
That's right.
And he's going to use it. Yeah. He's going to use any means that he can.
Yeah.
So something that you found adorably cute while dating now becomes extremely annoying. And it's like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Not that you have any of those. I'm specifically referring to my extremely annoying tactics.
And so in this one here, what we have to be careful with is putting our foot down and saying, this is exactly what's happening. Because the Bible also says in Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things, who can know it? So even when we think we know,
we just
we may have
acknowledge?
missed something along the way. Your perspective may have been wrong, or the angle. And well, one of the things that I often tell people is like, if I had this here and I say, hey, Susie, can you give us what you see and what?
Well, for the people that are just listening, you're holding up a cup.
I'm holding up a cup.
And it's got graphics on it.
Yeah, but this one's a little tough because it's kind of clear, so you can almost see through some things.
But I'll just tell you what I see on my side. I see a green and orange U, and I see the word Miami.
Which already makes me happy because that's my favorite team.
I know.
But I would say
no.
What I see is the ibis, the mascot for the Hurricanes. That's what's on the cup. Now, I agree with you with the orange. I'll give you that. But
yeah, but I'm just telling you, I see no bird. I don't know what cup you're looking at, but I don't see a bird.
And so what we need to do is take this as whatever incident you have or whatever observation you've made and try to do your best to turn the cup all the way around.
To be open
to see all the things that maybe you may have missed.
You know what? It makes me think of in scripture, it makes me think of the Gospels. When I was very young, I had very little biblical knowledge. I just thought the Bible started in Genesis and finished in Revelation, and it was in chronological order, right? And a little bit to my shame, I think I knew this, but didn't really know it, but that the Gospels all happen simultaneously because they're the same story, but they're through different lenses. And if you know a little bit about the history of the author of each of the Gospels, Matthew was Jewish. Mark was young. Matthew, Mark, Luke was a doctor. And then John, I'm not going to go into anymore. I just know the book of love.
I was like, oh, yeah.
But they all had very different backgrounds, and that shaped how they viewed the life and ministry of Jesus. Yeah. And it's just, if you'll allow it, it's beautiful. But it's like, I have an option. When we talk about the cup, I have an option to say, really, you see that? I don't see that. Can you show me where you see that? And then you're able to share with me your point of view. So I can interpret. And
I think that's where the hang up is in a lot of marriages.
People not being willing.
We're too prideful.
We are.
And we dig our heels in and we're saying, nope, I don't even have any idea how you're coming up with that.
Excuse me. We might not say that verbally, but we say it with our hearts.
I think as you move, like in our 4 stages of marriage, when you start moving into a little bit of resentment, those things start to come out of your mouth.
All I'm saying is, even if you're not saying these things, you may be thinking and feeling them.
Yeah. And so here's the next thing that I want to chat about is we begin to make assumptions in the midst of what we see versus what our spouse is seeing and how they're interpreting a situation. We start making assumptions of, he doesn't even care about me because he's not seeing it my way, or this always happens, which we like to make sure we say we don't use the word always
or never,
because we never give the opportunity. If we say never or always, we never give the opportunity for the other person to, as you mentioned just a moment ago, to, hey, what's your perspective? Like, tell me how you came up with that.
Yeah. When assumptions replace curiosity, you're not on a good path.
No. That's good.
Stay curious.
Yeah.
Always stay curious. I would like to think in our almost 32 years of marriage that I have grown. But if you keep me pegged as that 22-year-old when we first got married and the things I used to do or failed to do, and there were many, I think I would feel trapped.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
Allow me to grow. And if I desire that, then do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Yeah.
Like if I want you to give me that space to have grown and matured and not think the same way anymore, then I have to offer that to you.
Yeah.
And I do that by avoiding the assumptions and staying curious, because curiosity brings clarity
Yeah.
and clarity brings kindness.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And this is an area we have to be very careful in as a husband and wife.
Very.
And I'm going to put a little side note in here. Social media has been hurting this part of a marriage.
100%.
And you're looking at things from your perspective that somebody's affirming on social media, a feeling, an emotion, whatever it may be. And you look at that and says, oh, now why doesn't my husband do that? Or why doesn't my wife do that?
Why does my husband do that?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you begin to make the assumptions based on something that you're seeing that's not reality.
And we're not even going to go into the logistics of the algorithm and how you're only going to be narrowed down to seeing
those things
what
over and
supports
over.
your current point
Correct.
of view.
Yeah. And so being careful, you say this often, is if I have read a situation in the room, I automatically assume what Gio is thinking, because obviously that's the way I would think. So therefore he must be thinking just like me. He's ignoring me in this situation because that's what I would do, or whatever the case is making that assumption of your spouse without giving them the chance to open
It's
up.
hurtful. It's
Yeah.
hurtful.
Well, it's hurtful. You're burying each other under mounds of resentment, because there's only so much you can take of you feeling not validated on your perspective and talking through it. And so it's a two-way street, because as much as I want to make sure that you understand what I'm seeing, I have to be open to try to understand what you're seeing. And let's come to the middle and find the conclusion on there. The best way to do that is let's look at the whole thing.
Keep spinning the cup.
And if we find, this is where I struggle. If we find, oh, wow, okay, there is more. I'm sorry, Suze. I struggle with that because
I don't know why.
The way I want to, I think it's my upbringing.
I think so.
it's, I had to fight for everything when I was younger to make sure I didn't get in trouble. And so I did everything I could. And so that's, I bring that into the marriage. And so I think I've gotten better.
Absolutely. I just want to give one little key takeaway here. Like a helpful tactic. Instead of asking, why would you do that?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Yeah.
That's an assumption. You've assumed that you already know and that you're asking a rhetorical question. You're not really asking to find out why they did that. No.
That's a dig.
It's a dig.
Yeah.
It's a dig in the form of a question, and so you justify it.
Yeah.
Can you take that phrase and move it to help me understand what was going on for you? Now that only works if you're truly willing to understand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just another dig clothed in the cloak of willingness to learn and be open. Yeah. So instead of that, what were you thinking? Help me understand what was going on in your mind.
That leads us to here's some tips. that one, I get it.
No, I just saw the next one we're going to talk about.
Okay. When you're in this situation and there's a discussion in regards to an observation that you have had, that I have had, it's out there, whatever it may be. It may be with the kids at school, it could be our finance, whatever. We are very quick. And I'm just talking about us, just in general.
In general, yes.
Although we've done this. We are very quick to try to defend our perspective rather than to listen to the other person's perspective. And the verse that comes to mind for me is the one that's in James 1:19. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger.
I feel like our natural tendency is be slow to hear, quick to speak, and quick to anger.
Yeah. And again, this is where pride comes in and selfishness comes in, because we who wants to be wrong?
No one.
And who if you feel you're not wrong, then why wouldn't the other person do it or see it your way.
This line of thinking runs through my head. Like if there were, and I think that I am beginning to come to the conclusion simply because you don't know any better, Suze, because the thought that always would run through my mind would be, if there's a better way, why wouldn't I do it? So obviously what I'm doing is the best way, because to acknowledge anything different means to acknowledge that I have chosen less than the best. And why would I do that?
Right.
And so that, I think that would lead me into defense mode. And so I have learned this phrase, and I'm sorry, I am learning to use this phrase, keep your words soft and sweet. You never know when you may have to eat them. So if you are in defense mode and digging in your heels mode and the what on earth were you thinking, that's very often going to come back.
Yeah.
But if you can keep it in that soft and sweet vein, help me understand.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I get why you did that. First of all, desiring to learn more about your spouse is always going to evoke something in them that is positive and encouraging. And then it leads to, like we said, greater clarity, and clarity is always a good thing.
I think a great exercise, and we have done this with some couples, is navigating a little bit of your past and then sharing that with your spouse so that they have a better understanding. I just don't think a lot of couples do that, especially once you get into, in the romance stage, you guys are asking each other a lot of questions, but it's never really, anything.
It's usually more surfacey things.
It's surfacey things. You're never, if somebody was abused as a child, that usually is not coming out in the romance stage.
Right.
But it will come out at some point. Right. And so I think being a student of your spouse helps with this, where you truly want to get to know them and understand them, why they do what they do and how they click, and maybe even provide healing in that process for your spouse when we do a little bit more listening and a little less explaining. And so that's a tip there. Spend some time listening to your spouse and how they got from point A to point whatever
where they are right now,
and how they navigated their observation of the situation. And who knows, I know in our cases over years, we have navigated that together, and either one of us or the other says, man, you know what? The reason I did it like that is because this is how I saw it play out in my life. And I noticed that that's not the best way to do that. And it's helped us.
Yeah.
For us specifically is in some parenting things. And so, what if in our home we did a little bit more listening to understand and less explaining to make them understand, to explaining to defend ourselves. So the goal is not to determine who's right. And I think that's the biggest piece of conflict resolution is we want to determine in a conflict, I'm right and you're wrong. But it's not about that. The goal is to understand each other and how we got to where we're at. And I think that allows us to put the gloves down a little bit.
I think when we remove right and wrong and acknowledge different, right?
Yeah.
Now there are some we're not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater and you're never right or wrong. There are some rights and there are some wrongs, and we want to acknowledge that. But more often than not is the case that it's just two different ways of looking at the same thing, attaching meaning, interpreting, and then failing to be willing to be curious and look into the other.
Humility is a big piece in this as we process everything. We've got to come to a place where we are willing to surrender our pride to be able to really hear what's going on.
Philippians 2 says, in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. And that will never happen unintentionally. You have to be intentional about doing that because we just naturally look to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Self-preservation, protection. But humility allows us, specifically in the marriage relationship, to look at our spouse, and from our material that we use with Two Becoming One, the 8-week marriage discipleship course, it allows us to look at our spouse as God's personal perfect provision for us. And then hopefully right off the bat, that changes the way that we see them, right? It changes our heart posture. It changes the way we think. So hopefully then it begins to shape the way we communicate with one another and the way we desire to stay curious. And we want to think of them before ourselves, because we're not going to drift into that.
No. And here's a good way to phrase it, I think, is let's take this cup idea again.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not on the YouTube channel, it's our Miami Hurricane Cup. The phrase probably is, based on what I'm seeing, I feel like I'm seeing it correctly. I may just not be seeing all of it.
Yes.
And
just be open to the idea.
If we both come to that place, there's humility there, and that humility is now going to allow us to turn the cup.
Spin the cup
and say, okay, I didn't see that. So, and then, but here's where it all falls apart. I told you what was on my side. You just wouldn't listen to, and then that turn.
That's where you got to offer grace.
Stay humble through the whole process on both sides, because we're going to be right sometimes and we're going to be wrong sometimes on both sides.
And here's the thing. God can see what we cannot. And if I am a believer and you are a believer and both of us are indwelt by the Holy Spirit, and Scripture, the Holy Spirit is in fact part of the Trinity with God. And John 1:1 says, in the beginning was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And Genesis, it says, and the two shall become one flesh. Then I think, through some mathematical principle of substitution, I can't think of it all right now, but the Spirit is not going to take us into two different mindsets. He's not.
Yeah.
He knows what we don't know. He sees what we can't see. He can orchestrate things that we can't orchestrate. And so, as often as we do with our marriage discipleship, hey, I thought this was a marriage course. It is. This feels a whole lot more about my relationship with me and God.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because if your vertical relationship isn't in alignment with truth, I'm not saying you and God coming into alignment. I'm saying God, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's unchanging. Me coming into alignment with that, you coming into alignment with that, brings us together.
Yeah.
But it's so hard.
It is. It is, because I think there's habits that are formed over
Yes.
time.
And we justify.
And we make inner
rationalize.
vows.
Yes.
We try to protect, and it's really a protection, because we don't want to be that vulnerable person getting hurt all the time. And so you've got your perspective, I've got my perspective, but at the end of the day, what's God's perspective?
Yeah. And that's really all that matters.
That's what matters. And can we get to that place through humility, through grace, to come to a conclusion? I'll close with this. For you and me, I'm a straight line, get it done individual. You are a journey person. Is your perspective right? Is my perspective right? They're just perspectives.
They're different.
God's perspective is,
Right.
I brought you both together.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to use both of your perspectives to bring about a healthy relationship.
Oh, that's good.
And so what do? Well, we could fight the rest of our marriage.
I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to do that either. And we have fought.
We have gone through.
We have gone through it. And I think that there are moments that you say, you know what, in this moment, it's an A to B. I understand we got to get this done. And so you're willing to say, I'm going to take a step back so that we can get this done. And then there's moments where I'm like, you know what, A to B is just what I want, because I like to get things done. I like the tasks being done, but I can see the value of smelling the roses along the way. And there are times that that happens.
Yes.
You know?
Isaiah, the prophet, said, in quoting God, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways they're not different than yours." Now, this is where you and I can be different, but his ways are higher than our ways. Yeah. They're not just different. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And so I think just noting that healthy marriages aren't built on proving a perspective, but they're built on pursuing God's perspective together.
So good.
Oh, that's a lifelong journey. That's lifelong.
That is.
That's lifelong. Never meant to stop.
And that's where we crucify the flesh daily. That's where we lean into the spirit, not into the flesh. All the things that Scripture teaches for us to do so that we can bring that into the most important relationship on this earth that we have, which is our spouse. And then extend it from that to other people, but mainly in the home.
Yeah. So right before we close, we're going to give a few questions, and maybe you want to write these down. So press pause as you're listening to them, because these are some great conversations to have with yourself or even together. So let's just go back and forth.
Okay.
I'll do the first one. When was the last time your spouse saw something differently than you did? Ask yourself that question. Just start there. So this is a series.
All right. Now, the next one is, did you assume they were wrong, or did you become curious? Did you ask questions?
Yeah. Really, though, it's that heart posture that leads you into that. Okay, from then, what conflict in your marriage might change if you truly, that's a key, if you truly sought to understand your spouse's interpretation. Okay? What might change?
And then how can you become a better student of your spouse's perspective this week?
That's so good.
Kind of like that. I forget if you told me, I can't remember where I heard it. I think you said something where you're debating, and then they say, okay, I want you guys to switch, and I want you to try to defend your spouse's.
Immediately switch.
Like you're going to defend your spouse's perspective, and it's like, oh, I can see it differently now.
So
because I want to win, I can see it differently. So you want to read that last quote?
Yeah, I really like this. I feel like this sums up beautifully the thought that we were trying to communicate today. If this is an issue for you, and if you are living, breathing flesh and blood, and you are in a marriage relationship, it potentially could be. Marriage is not about finding two people who always see things the same way. It's about two people learning to understand, appreciate, and grow through their different perspectives while pursuing the wisdom of God together.
So good.
So good.
Our prayer is that you wrestle through these things. Our prayer is that you find place in your heart for grace, to extend that to your spouse.
Always.
Which all of this comes down to our relationship with God. Because if we begin the process of understanding God's grace to us, His mercy to us, the gospel message, which we should preach to ourselves every day, then we begin to understand a little bit more how to extend that to somebody else.
So good.
We're receiving it from God, who is perfect. Can we not extend that to our spouse while we're imperfect in the whole process as well?
Yep.
Thank you for listening in. We are on social media, Instagram, on Facebook, and other areas. Our website, ChristianFamilyLife.com, has a lot of resources for you to check out. We've got this podcast is on there, as well as all the other platforms. There's also a blog that goes out weekly. There's a weekly email that you can subscribe to that gives a marriage devotional every week. And just a lot of different opportunities for you to sharpen the tools in your tool belt towards your marriage. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Christian Family Life Podcast. Be sure to subscribe. To learn more about the ministry, visit our website, ChristianFamilyLife.com. There, you can subscribe to our newsletter and find all of our social media links, where we offer resources to help strengthen your marriage. Until next time, remember, God created marriage. He can make it work.